Oh, here we are. Let's go. Friday edition of Beyond the Arc. This will be every Friday. I'm Bill Reiter. Brad Botkin is in the house. Friday, Brad, to CBSSports.com, senior NBA writers. Mr. Botkin, hello. I guess good morning for me. Good afternoon now for you because you're on the East Coast.
It's definitely good morning. The season has started. I'm 11:30 wake up, 4 a.m. bedtime. I don't know about you, Bill, but, we're not the youngest guys in the industry anymore. So it's like the new season used to feel different for me. Like, almost when I was in my 20s and I was like, I can't wait. And now it's sort of like the first day of school. It's like, God, I got to get
I agree.
I can't. I'm tired.
Oh, it's hell no.
Yeah.
Let's shorten it. I don't want to ruin the Intuit Dome review I'm going to do later in the show, but the chairs are so uncomfortable for the media.
Oh, no.
Kurt Heelan's like, oh, my hip hurts. And it's what he said to me. And he's like, I got to walk around when we were at the Clippers opener the other night. And I judged him. I thought, what an old dude. And then I stood up and my hip hurt. And it still hurts. Intuit Dome review coming. A bunch of stuff to get to. We're going to talk a couple games last night that were really interesting. Brad, you've got some bold predictions that I want to circle to at the end of the show. I think a few of them are really interesting. And if you want to overreact to some of the games last night, we can do that here in a second. I want to give you a review of the Clippers' new arena and ask you if you think they'll ever invite me back again. They don't like me very much, so I'm not even sure that a little hard on them.
But Chris on and wasn't it with Doc and when
Yeah, it goes back to Sterling, and they should move on. The Embiid investigation that's out there, I think, needs some context and some clarity. So we're going to get into that a little bit. There's a lawsuit from a former strength and conditioning trainer who worked eventually for the Clippers involving tampering Kawhi Leonard. That's really interesting. We'll give you the team of the night. Remember, follow us. This is the routine thing we got to say, but it's important because we want you to support the show. We're on live every day now, 12 Eastern, like we are here on YouTube. You can also get the podcast, support the show, however you consume us. Follow us where you get your podcast. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Drop a comment on this episode on Spotify. We will absolutely use it. You can do the same thing on YouTube. Just look below the play button on Spotify on the app in the full screen mode and tell us what you think about the show or leave a question for us. All right, so I always try not to overreact to early games, Brad. I'm sure you're the same way, but it's hard not to. Dallas comes in. Klay Thompson looks amazing. It's not as if Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic were particularly efficient. I think they were something like 15 of 43 combined. But Dallas rolls. They looked really, really good. My guy, Chris Paul, who actually I like with the Spurs this year, even though I have a history there. I'm really excited for him there as a leader. But he looked awful. He had 8 assists, but was 1 of 6. He looked old. Wemby wasn't very good. Are you willing to make any bold reactions to this thing, especially Wemby's performance, or just first game, tough game, not a big deal?
Oh, hell yes, I'm ready to overreact. I mean,
overreact.
Why would we not be? We wouldn't be fans. And the truth is, our job really is to speak to what people are speaking about, and this is why people are passionate and overly emotional about sports. They do overreact, and I can relate to it. Yeah, I want 2 things about that game. I love Klay Thompson.
I do too.
Grew up with the Warriors. Will be Klay until I die. And so I want him to do well. I think he's in a perfect situation. I think it's easy to look at the game he had last night and think this is what it's going to be like in Dallas, because there are tangible factors that lead to one to be able to believe that. One, I remember talking, Bill, to Allen Houston, the old sharpshooter, Knicks sharpshooter. And I remember him telling me one time that the difference between a great shooter and a good shooter is the ability to shoot off of a dead sprint. It is very, very difficult to shoot off of a dead sprint, which is what Klay Thompson did for years in that constant moving motion offense in Golden State. In Dallas, he's going to get a lot more set shots because Luka and Kyrie dominate the ball. They play a downhill and kick-out game as opposed to that motion the Warriors run. He still made some moving shots last night, one falling away in the corner. But you saw in a couple of those shots how much time he had to set up. When his feet are set, he's going to be able to shoot until he's 100 years old. It's the movement shots that he's starting to have a little trouble with. So I do love that element. But if you go back and look at Klay's game logs, he has done this 12 times last year. He made 6 3-pointers in a game. So he is
6 to 10 last night.
He is going to do this from time to time. He happened to do it in the first game. Do not be surprised if next game he goes 1 for 13. And that's the thing with Klay, the inconsistency, the sporadic shooting. That's what you're getting with Klay.
Can I overreact? Can I overreact the other way a little bit? So here's my sort of take on Klay. And by the way, I did not grow up a Super Warriors fan like you did. I'm not from there, but I'm a neutral who likes the Warriors for all the reasons that you should. Like, great organization, great guys, likable guys. Clay's a great guy. You've been around that team too, right? I've never been around a multi-team championship team that is that down to earth, relatively speaking, for the NBA. Yeah. So maybe I'm a little biased here. I also just think being liberated from having to be Klay Thompson's splash brother, Klay Thompson, at least every other night, you need to be the second best player at a level that these guys are supposed to win 73 games, which I know they've only done one time. But I just think the ability to go somewhere, have a chip on his shoulder, not have to compete against the Klay Thompson greatest hits that he always had to in Golden State, Brad, I think it frees him up a little bit. Plus all the tactical reasons, all the things you talked about, the fact that Kyrie and Luka are going to command so much attention that he's going to have an easier time getting the kind of shots that he needs and that he wants. I just think the fact that he can reset without having to carry some championship ideal that's no longer in place in Golden State is a huge psychological release for them. I think he can be a better version of himself on that alone.
I couldn't agree more. I think even if only for his own content, ability to accept where he's at in his career. I love how you put that he's up against his greatest hits. He really is. In Golden State, he was always going to be measured against what he used to be. And so you're always looking at him through a lens of regression. Where in Dallas, psychologically, to your point, he gets a fresh start. He is only going to be expected to do what is in line with what the player he is now. And
that's right.
I think you're totally right. And he can still do this. He scored 18 points a game last year, shot 39% on 9 threes a game. So this is a guy that can still play. He's just not going to shoot 12 threes a game and make 42% and score 22 points. And so he can help this team a lot. I just think it's a bit of an overreaction if you're expecting, oh my God, he's in such a perfect scenario. He's going to be making 5-6 threes a night. Inconsistency has become a part of Klay's game. But to your point, it's okay because he doesn't have to be one of the top 2 guys. So inconsistency, it's almost like when he's not on, when he doesn't have a game like he had last night, they still have plenty. They got to the finals last year. But when he is on, it can take them to another level.
And when he's not on, and I want to talk a little bit about the Thunder-Denver game too, but maybe last thought here, when he's not on, and I love Steph. Steph's the best player of any player we're going to talk about probably today other than Joker. But in Dallas, you've got 2 guys that can go super nuclear. Either Kyrie or Luka can have nights, they didn't have it last night, where they just carry the offense themselves. And if Klay's having an off night, there's 2 other guys who are very likely to obscure that in a way that it doesn't matter. Whereas in Golden State, sometimes Steph could be really good, but there was nobody else helping out, and it would sort of fall to Klay. All right, so we're going to talk a lot of Wembanyama.
I want to stay on this game, though, real quick.
All right, hit it.
Right to the topic of relativity. We got to talk about Wemby, and I'm the biggest Wemby fan.
Oh, dude, he's going to be fine.
I'm not saying he's not fine. I think he's going to win DPOY. I predicted him to block over 5 shots a game. Only Mark.
I saw that. Yeah, only had 1 last night.
Defensively unbelievable, but we have got to get this. We are so enamored as a collective with his skill set relative to his size that we are anointing him as things he's not. For instance, there is this idea that he's a good shooter. He's actually a bad shooter. He shot 32%.
Well, I don't think anybody thinks he's a good shooter. No. I think people think he's going to grow into an offensive mega weapon, and his shot will get good enough that it will be fine.
Maybe.
I think I was 1 of 8 last night, but I'm not worried about his shooting. He'll get there.
I see people out there that are like, oh my God, he can handle the ball, he can shoot all these things because of his size. It's unique. But at the end of the day, if you're expecting him to just consistently make threes, you've got the wrong idea. So
he's not going to be Russell Westbrook, dude. I mean, he's gonna. I mean, come on.
No, I'm not
with you.
I remember when was it Windhorse? Somebody came out and said that he was a better athlete than LeBron James. I mean, this was last year, and when he as an entering NBA player, and it's like you're saying that because of his relative. To his
I don't think that's outrageous. It's a different. I mean, as an athlete, maybe is the wrong word, but you're getting semantics. He has a more unique skill set. Look, comparing anybody to LeBron is fraud. But he has one of the most unique skill sets in NBA history.
but it's because of his size, and that makes it
okay. Well, but it's not soccer. You got to be tall. It helps.
You're right, but all I'm saying is 10 feet tall or 6 feet tall, he's a 32% shooter. I'm just saying, keep it in mind.
All right, we got a break. I do want to talk. So I have a question on that Oklahoma City game that I want to ask you, and I want to get into. I got an Intuit Dome report if we have time, but we got to get into this lawsuit involving Kawhi Leonard. He is tangentially connected, and we got to talk about a little about this Embiid investigation, air quote. So both of those things coming up when we return in just a moment here on Beyond the Arc.
Saturdays at 3:30.
It's big time.
CBS Sports has a big-time game with big-time implications when the top-ranked Oregon Ducks welcome in number 20 Illinois. It's big time. Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
All right, welcome back into Beyond the Arc. He's Brad Botkin. I'm Bill Reiter. If you are watching, thank you. Remember, you can absolutely please smash the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Beyond the Arc CBS. Like, share, comment, please, on our videos. We'd like to include you in the conversation. If you do that, we're live on YouTube 5 days a week, noon Eastern. You can also, of course, get the podcast after the fact, after it's live, wherever you get podcasts. Please subscribe and give a 5-star review if you're doing that on Apple Podcasts. Do you want it from last night's Oklahoma City domination of Denver? It can be both, but bigger takeaway for you, Brad. Is it Oklahoma City, especially defensively, that good, or Denver that much less of a version of what maybe our expectations were for them, given how depleted they are?
Good question. I don't think anything different of either of these teams after that game, but I do think what you just said. I think Denver's not the team they've been, and OKC's awesome. I mean, they're so good. They're so good.
They're so good.
They're built. Now, the thing I think we're undervaluing is how great the Celtics are. A lot of people are picking the Thunder to win it all. They're not going to beat the Celtics. The Celtics are unbelievable.
That's a long ways from now.
I know, but I mean, hey,
they could beat them.
Well, okay. I wouldn't bet on it. But no, they're terrific. They're terrific. And they're going to win the West. And I think it's, barring major injury to somebody of significance, they're going to win 60 games in their sleep, because they have so many two-way players. They have so many ways that they can beat you. They move so well, and they're young. You kind of have that feel of the 2014-15 Warriors, that just like they're so young and they're so ready to pop, and they have fun.
They're already that good.
They're really, really good. Now Denver, it doesn't seem like you should go down that much on paper because you lose Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I mean, what is he, 10 points?
Well, yeah. But like the thing is, it's not, as you know, it's not just losing him. It's what is Jamal Murray? Not a great start. Yeah. And I don't understand the continued faith teams have in Russell Westbrook, who was awful last night.
That's not going to do it. But what I was going to say was, at first glance, you lose KCP, you shouldn't like become a demonstrably different team. But what it does is it trickles down. It now moves Christian Braun to the starting lineup. It weakens your bench, and now your guy, Russell Westbrook, is now the best player on the bench. Played way more minutes than anyone else. If he's the best player on your bench,
what, two for 10?
Yeah,
took 6 threes.
And the Nuggets, they've really never had a particularly great bench. They have relied,
and they've whittled this thing down also since they won a championship. Bruce Brown went away, right?
Brown.
And we thought Brown was a guy back then who had some impact minutes and smaller bursts, that maybe they thought there was a higher ceiling. Also, Michael Porter Jr. was paid like a superstar, and he was supposed to grow and evolve into – I mean, the guy can shoot, but he's not been consistent there. I'm not sure that they're that good.
Missouri warfare.
I know. Hurts me.
Well, listen, I just think they have relied – so to your point, not quite as much when they won the championship, when they had Brown and they had some guys coming off the bench that really did a lot for them. But for the most part, they have been a starting lineup dominant team. They have killed you to such a degree with their starting lineup that they've been able to survive disastrous non-Jokic minutes. They can't do that anymore. You're right. You can't lose any of that. Even if it happens to be on paper maybe the smallest part of your starting lineup, it sort of chips at the foundation of it. And then you can't outscore teams by 20 with your starting lineup and survive that downfall when the bench –
I don't think it's just KCP, though. You're right. Murray is not as reliable as he was when he was healthy over those runs, and MPJ is not that guy. And the other thing is, and you're right, and nothing against Denver 2 years ago, the West has gotten so much better as Denver has gotten a little bit, maybe a lot worse. That's the other thing. Yep. Is that like it's not just like playing Oklahoma City is going to be a challenge. But outside of Utah, Portland, and probably the Clippers, who I want to talk about here in a second, who's an easy team you play in the Western Conference? There's not a single night. And there are going to be nights where Utah's going to play you tougher than you might expect, especially in Utah. And maybe Kawhi will come back at some point and play enough minutes that if you catch the Clippers on those nights when, you don't have James Harden being 9 of 53, it's just going to be – the West is really tough, and Denver's not the team they were a couple years ago. That's a bad combo.
All of this stuff that we're talking about is relative. Yeah, when the Denver would be a finals team in like the 90s, but it's just like the West is so good. I looked at the Kings game last night and I was like, oh my God, it's the starting lineup is De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis and DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Huerter. It's like this team would legit be a finals contender 20 years ago. They're awesome. And now
their ceiling is being fixed.
Yeah. So I agree with that. The Murray thing I would push back on. I think it's way too early to say he's not the player he was. I mean, he had a great season last year. He fell off the playoffs. The Olympics scared everybody.
Playoffs and the Olympics, right? I mean, it's been a bit of a run now, though. You're right.
But it was only one regular season. I mean, I have to go look at his numbers, but I think he was well over 40% from three, over 20 points a game. So it's like he had the 2-game winners in the playoffs. It was a short sample. So I'm not ready. I love Jamal Murray, and I'm not – but he does, to your point.
I love Jamal Murray too.
He has to be – like he's always been able to be I can sort of turn it on once in a while guy. He actually has to be like an all-star this year, all year.
That's
I think
great
he
point.
can do it, but he actually has to do that now.
That is a great point. Playoff Jamal Murray isn't enough anymore. He needs to be, that Jamal Murray. You got to level up. For the reasons we're talking about. Let me I want to hit this I want to give it this Kawhi Leonard story, and I just want you to tell me whether you care, whether you think this is a big deal or not. So here's the cliff notes. Here's the deal. A former strength and conditioning coach of the Clippers has sued the Clippers, and here are the details in the lawsuit. There's a lawsuit that's out. It's a public document. These are obviously allegations. We don't know what's true. But this former trainer, strength and conditioning coach and trainer, worked at San Diego State. He met Kawhi Leonard there, and trained Kawhi in the off seasons, including when Kawhi was in Toronto. It is alleged that the Clippers, through an intermediary, through somebody in their front office, reached out to this guy when Kawhi was still playing for the Raptors, not in the offseason, during the season, and involved him in a ploy to go and start recruiting Kawhi right then. And the gist of it was, hey, man, you got a relationship with Kawhi. You train him in the offseason. Reach out to him. If he comes to the Clippers, we will hire you. We will get you. You will be part of this team. And this guy's been training Kawhi forever, right? Like he knew him from college and trained him the minute he became a pro. So there's a relationship there. He alleges that he did that he was an intermediary, that eventually Lawrence Frank, who runs all basketball operations and who I know and like, had a conversation with him about this very thing, and that when Kawhi did become a Clipper, that he was hired as part of the Clippers staff. Okay, that's an allegation that's big, number one. Number two, Brad, is the allegation that once he got there, his belief as a professional is that they were looking past what was in Kawhi's best interest when he got injured, that basically they ignored from his perspective, his allegations, what the medical information suggested needed to be Kawhi sitting for a lot longer, maybe 2 years, that they played him when they shouldn't have, and basically ruined him. And when he raised these concerns, he says, they basically cut him off from the rest of the team, didn't give him access to the medicals anymore, and eventually fired him. So do you care if they colluded at this level? Because we know collusion happens. And I guess what we probably would care if, in fact, they wore him into the ground. But let's start with the collusion. If, in fact, the Clippers were secretly talking to Kawhi through people when he was a Raptor, do you care?
I definitely don't care. I mean,
I don't care either.
No, collusion's such a dirty word, but it's like, no. I mean, why did Jalen Brunson's dad get hired by the Knicks? I mean, why? This is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to try to enforce. Nobody cares. Everybody goes to Team USA and recruits each other. No, I definitely don't.
I mean,
care.
Anthony, when he switched to Rich Paul, right? Like in LeBron. I mean, come on. That was straight collusion.
Come on. So exactly. All these agent switch. I mean, it's all planned out. So, I mean, and it's not – this is just like what adults do. If anybody was going to get a new job or wanted a new employee and they happen to know somebody, it's so immature to – I think it's dumb. Now, the part about if they ran him into the ground, I don't know. I hate to comment on people's health and how they're handling. Right. So I don't know. What I have an opinion on is that sometimes if you're a faulty athlete, if you're kind of a crippled and you've got things that go with you, like Bill Walton or something, you know, like at some level they're paying you a lot of money to play basketball. I don't agree that you can just be precautious for 3 years. Hey, he needs to not play for, you know, if he's got that bad, then his career's going to end soon.
Right.
There's a certain level that you have to stop and say, I can't.
This is why he had a divorce with the Spurs, though, right? Like, we've already been through this with Kawhi.
Yeah, exactly.
He and the Spurs had a disagreement about the proper amount of time that he needs away from the game or not.
And we're going to talk about this with Joel Embiid, and they're certainly not sitting him out for an entire season. But there comes a point where you're being paid a lot of money to do a job, and I get caution. I get that the end goal is being healthy in the playoffs. It's all a balance. I'm not being extreme. But at some level, if this guy's – and I don't know this, but if this guy's suggesting Kawhi needed 2 years off, well, look, he's being paid whatever he's being paid every year. If he's that creaky – then that stinks that God made his body that way, but he's being paid for basketball.
And he played, I don't have it in front of me, 65 games or whatever last year and still got hurt.
He got hurt last year. He was like maybe the best player in the league.
Yeah, it was really good. Yes. All right, so let's talk about this Embiid thing because I wrote about this from the website. And look, this is going to sound like an anti-Shams thing. It's really not. But so Shams put out a report, and there was sort of the bated breath. This is 2 days ago, leading up to the Sixers opener, NBA to investigate Embiid. And everybody kind of freaked out, and there was all this reporting about it. Here's the reality, right? And it is a matter of course. And I talked to people in the Sixers organization and people in the league office and people around the NBA, and the general response was people rolling their eyes at this report. Because first of all, there's an automatic investigation if a superstar under any sort of suspicious situation misses a nationally televised game, especially the opener. But it's literally a protocol. It is literally like saying there's going to be an investigation if that three-point shot goes in and they award 3 points to the team that successfully does it. That's literally the consequence of somebody sitting out. And the fact that Joel Embiid has said publicly he doesn't know if he'll play back-to-backs, I just know it's not a big deal. Now, there will be but everyone knew the minute that Embiid said, I don't know if I'll play back-to-backs, the NBA league office knew, the Sixers knew, nobody cared that when it was triggered, and it was triggered on the first night, they were going to look into what's going on, and that investigation officially began yesterday, that they're going to ask what's happening. And I talked to a source in that office who said, look, man, he could be fined. It could be nothing. Maybe he's injured. We don't know what's going on, and we can't officially ask until he misses the first game, which he just did. So the idea that this is some huge thing isn't true. Maybe it becomes something big. Maybe it doesn't. I think this is going to be the new normal with Shams because Woj has a journalism background and I think understood some of these nuances. Shams is the most connected person in the game. He's 1,000 times more connected than I am. He does an amazing job. He's worked his ass off. He's much more agent dependent, I think, probably than Woj was. Woj obviously had great agent contacts, but Woj, not that Shams doesn't talk to GMs, he talks to some, but I just think it's much ado about nothing. I think it's a whole lot of drama, the investigation of Joel Embiid, that is not being taken seriously at that level within that Sixers organization, within Adam Silver's world over in New York City, or around the rest of the NBA.
Yeah, I just think this is such a hot button topic because it all ties into like length of season, how much the regular season matters. There's so many layers to the conversation that there is a hypersensitivity to someone who's basically coming out and saying, I'm really not going to play that much. You know, I'm going to completely prioritize May and June. And so what ends up happening is whatever feelings you have about the dilution of the regular season end up bleeding into this issue. And
this is an Adam Silver focus. They are hell-bent.
And it should be. Again, I'll go back to, just like with Kawhi, I go back to if these guys, the reason that these guys make the money that they make is because people pay the money that they pay to watch them. And so
no disagreement. Let me jump in though and ask you this. Because I'm in agreement. I think the guys should play. I like the minimum threshold for awards. But don't you think there are some exceptions where guys literally just are unable to play 65 or 70 games and then be healthy for the playoffs? I think that's Embiid. Like, if I'm Embiid, this might be the right approach, even if it's not popular with Adam Silver, and even if it's
no question that it's the right
approach.
No, I mean, because the whole thing is, though, that it's the right approach to win the championship. The league, some team wins the championship every year. The league does not make the money that it makes, and the players don't make the money that they make because somebody's going to win a championship. That's a team goal. The league goal to generate revenue is to play basketball. It is a nightly Broadway act, and if you show up to the Broadway act in New York and the lead actor isn't there because he wants to be healthy for the show 3 months from now, that's a personal goal. The league goal is to make money throughout the season as a show, as an entertainment product. That's where the contradiction happens. There's a conflict there, and that's the problem. Look, money screws everything up, but this is real simple. Make it 6 playoff teams, 2 teams get a bye. If you're the 7th seed and you're in the lottery, you're going to play in the regular season. So, but they can't do that because they need more playoff games for more money. But that's the simple truth. 6 playoff teams. You can't be giving away games if you can't get in if you're not a 6 seed. There's too many good teams. So the guys would play. It's actually very simple, but they're trying to do all this while keeping the revenue as high as possible so the players can get paid as much as possible. So if that's the truth, if that's what we're doing, then play basketball.
Someone's going to win the NBA championship. You said it regardless. I want to see Joel Embiid make a deep run. I'm down for the guy to play 41 games if I can watch him play at the level he did before he got hurt last year, but in May and June. All right, we've got some – Brad did a great story over at CBSSports.com on bold predictions. We're going to pull a few of those out. We're going to give you our team of the night. And because Brad and I are going to be doing this every Friday, we have a special surprise for Brad, which is coming up next on Beyond the Arc.
There are some things in life that you can't quite explain.
An extraordinary story.
Maybe it sounds flawless, looks effortless, or makes you feel like a part of history.
The first ever goal for BFC.
And when all of those phenomenons come together, it's perfect. Pitch perfect.
All right, welcome back into Beyond the Arc. Please subscribe on YouTube if you're watching us live. Thank you for doing that. We'll do this every single day, noon Eastern, Monday to Friday. And you can also, of course, listen wherever you get your podcast. If you do it on Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. So, Brad, you mentioned that you're a big Golden State fan. I'm really excited for if you're listening. You can't see this. I'll tell you what it says. But Brad, we have Brad's initial NBA power rankings for the year. So this is right here. Brad's initial look. It's 1 through 10, and every team is the Golden State Warriors.
Love that. And that is 2 less. That is 2 less than the number of guys they played in the game. I got real issues with this. If you got 2 quarterbacks, you got none. If you got to play 12 guys, you don't got 5. But I love this. Let's get into it.
Brad's number 1 through 10 team of the Warriors. Well, you heard Steve Kerr. He doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Everybody earned it, Brad. It's kumbaya on Golden State. Congratulations.
You know, the old problem to have thing. I mean, they're all good players. He's not playing anyone that shouldn't be playing, but they're not all good. They are begging for a 3-for-1 trade. And I think, they're a little bit like New Orleans in that way before the merger. But Golden State, listen, Steph's got himself a buddy, pardon the pun. He's got himself a shooting partner. Those
Oh, buddy. Oh, grown.
Moves that they made actually made sense this year. Everybody's mad about they didn't get Markkanen, they didn't get George, but they're, I think, a sneaky good team, and I think they're a 3-for-1.
You do, huh? I'm shocked you think that.
They're sneaky. Kuminga's not nearly as bad as he looked. They moved.
It's all going to work.
I'm telling you, Bill, that ball is popping. They're going to be really in the mix for a top 6 seed. And if a 3-for-1
come on.
I'm telling you, and I'm thinking Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
They're done. They're a 3-for-1. Get Kuminga. He's not going to be as good as they think. Throw some draft picks in. They get Jimmy. The Warriors stock are still in my portfolio. As you
I'm
know.
Stunned. Stunned. Just totally stunned that you're into the Warriors. But it's a perfect segue into other bold predictions. You're boldly predicting the Warriors are going to kick ass this year. By the way, I was listening yesterday. It was John and Sam Quinn yesterday. They'll be every Thursday. John Gonzalez, our other co-host, very talented dude. He dropped an F-bomb. He just straight dropped an F-bomb. Are we allowed to? I'm not going to F-bomb. Are we allowed to F-bomb on the podcast?
I think you have to be from Philly. If you do, you get like
okay.
The way they know how to talk.
That's true. It's the first. It's their first word. It's mom, dad, and then F word when they're little. Is the words that
I bought for my daughter was like my first word is always dad. Like in Philly, it's always some swear word or like some
bleep you.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. All right, so you had a few and pull out what you want, but the one that I was really interested in, because I'm so down on Portland, I don't think that organization is well run. I don't think they have a plan that's going to work. You like Scoot to be was it most improved player? I think was which I thought was interesting. What are you seeing in Scoot that I'm not?
Okay, so let me clarify here. I don't necessarily love Scoot. There's a narrative here with all of these awards, and there is so much attention on him. And there were so many people, to go back to the stock analogy, there's so many people that bought so much Scoot stock that a lot of people have a lot invested in him, including voters. And they're going to be watching him very closely.
Oh, that's interesting.
And he was so bad last year that when people want, psychologically, they want him to be what they thought he was going to be. So they're leaning that way already. This is my theory. They're leaning that way. And he's like a person who weighs 600 pounds. You can lose 200 and still be woefully out of shape, but your improvement was very big. And so I think he was so bad last year, notwithstanding the decent stretch he had at the end, that
we're on the same page.
He can average 14, 15 points a game, cut the turnovers down, shoot 34% from three. And I think he's going to be a leading candidate for most improved because, one, so many people want him to be better than he is, and two, he has so much room for market improvement, even without ending up being that good.
Can I use this as an opportunity to get into one of my pet peeves? Because I do vote, right? I vote for these awards, and I take it really seriously, and it's really hard, and you don't want to screw it up. I think the most improved player is the dumbest award in terms of how it operates now. And here's my proposal, Brad. And since they just did a game threshold for all these awards, they can do whatever they want. I think they should have some sort of rule where if you have been an all-NBA player ever in your career in the last 5 years, if you've been a lottery pick, you have to have these, you can't qualify. I'm so like Victor Wembanyama is one of the betting favorites to be like, are we kidding? Like Victor Wembanyama is going to be, it should actually be forced to a pool of players who are surprising in their improvement or have gone through a major injury, who we thought their careers were over, who came out of nowhere. It shouldn't be a guy that was a top 3 pick in the last 3 or 4 years. Like it annoys the hell out of me that most improved players become the best player who made the biggest leap but was kind of expected. I think it's ridiculous the way we do that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think that's fair because every player should improve. And if you're a better player, you're probably going to improve more. You're more talented. You respond to training better. So I agree with that. You could have given Steph Curry most improved player.
Right.
The first MVP he won. He was
100%.
He went from an all-star to the MVP. That's pretty big improvement. So I agree with you. It probably should be people or players that really, I think, are like on the Scoot Henderson track or the Kobe White track where like they were kind of bad. And
Kobe White's a good one.
They become good. So I agree with you.
Like Scoot 2 years from now, right? Scoot takes his 4th year. He has 3 years where he's not very good. He's sort of written off, and then he blossoms late. Fine.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. The thing is, I wouldn't. If I agree with your concept, I wouldn't be black and white and say if you're a lottery pick, you're out. Because if you're a lottery pick and you legitimately stink, like if James Wiseman suddenly became like a really
poor
good
James
player,
Wiseman,
then it's like I don't care.
Okay, maybe it's all NBA rookie team. Maybe all NBA rookie team disqualifies you for a certain period of time.
But there's a lot of 5 picks who end up being garbage. You know, if Darko ends up becoming an all-star, he made a hell of an improvement. So yeah.
Okay, that's fair. And look, I don't know the exact parameters, but we need some. And I'm actually going to raise this. There's a guy in the league office who sort of navigates these complaints and thoughts and perspectives for the awards. And I've just decided I'm going to make it my cause. And the next time I see him and we hang out, I'm just going to hammer him with my idea. They don't even have to call.
Bill, you're always fighting the important fights. There's
I'm
a
trying.
lot of things going on in the world. And MIP parameters, I love that that's high up on the list. I love
It's
that.
so high on the list. By the way, this is fun. Every Friday, Brad and I are hanging out, and every Friday we'll do Brad's bold predictions, and we'll do, which we'll get to in a second, the team of the night. We'll do that every Friday. So another one that you had that I kind of was like, wow. And then unfairly, I'm going to do the old Mark Twain lies, damn lies statistics trick on you here. You went, and you mentioned this earlier, you went Wemby averaging 5 blocks per game. Am I right? He had 1 last night, right?
So now he has to get like 11 next game.
Which he can do, right? But he's got to get on. That's a pretty. Give me your framework of thinking here, because that's a pretty serious thing.
It's quite obvious. I mean, he changes the defensive geometry of a court the way Steph does offensively. He can cover so much ground. He can block jump shots. He can be beat on a dribble and be 2 steps behind you. And there's so many ways he can tally block shots. Now the rub to that is there's so many 3-pointers being shot. I mean, Boston shot about 200. You can't really tally a lot of blocks when people shoot nothing but threes. That's the rub. If you held a gun to my head, I don't think I would say he's going to do it, but it's a bold prediction. I think he's going to be north of 4. So it's like,
right.
I think he's going to be. I wouldn't bet on it, but it's bold.
I like it.
Bold is the word, is the operative word here.
One of the most divisive teams in the NBA, when I talk to people around the league, and I'm sure you too, are the Suns. And I didn't even know what to make. I was at their opener here in LA at the Intuit Dome, which, by the way, total lie. We'll do the review on Monday. There's no toilets. I couldn't find a toilet. It was a whole thing. The toilets thing is a freaking lie. The Suns, to my eye, didn't look like they put in that much effort. They didn't look that interested. And then they were still able to be down, I think, 10 with 6 minutes and change left, come back and win in overtime. It perfectly encapsulates this team. I'm not even sure what they are. I'm not sure how it fits. What is you have a bold prediction on Phoenix?
Oh, I love Phoenix. I
know you do.
I do.
You got in the top 4? Is that what it was?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen.
Come on.
We complicate a lot of this stuff, but when the problem with Phoenix last year was not that those 3 are not as good as advertised. It's those 3 didn't play enough together. So all of this is couched with if they're healthy.
Okay.
But them dudes are just dudes. Like, they're so good. They're going to have the best offense in the league. They had the worst fourth quarter offense in the league last year. They were stagnant. They were stalling. Mike Budenholzer is the perfect coach to put flow and tempo and an increased emphasis on 3-point shooting, which they had the horse through. Devin Booker went from a mid-range shooter. He easily stretched his range. He did the same thing C.J. McCollum did. He was a comfortable mid-range guy. He stepped back a few steps, and he's just as great. Kevin Durant's the greatest shooter in the league, not named Steph Curry still. Bradley Beal it was perfect.
Ty Jones is nice. They have a point guard. They actually have a point guard now.
Find somebody to tie it together and get the guys the ball where they want to get. Devin Booker now can get to his spot instead of trying to get Kevin the ball at his spot. Listen, it's the perfect encapsulation that they all had 29 points exactly in game 1. Those guys are balanced. They're really balanced, and Bud's going to have them shooting threes. There's no way that anomaly continues. There's no way. Top 4, and I don't even think it's controversial.
I think it is controversial, but I love it. So hold on, though. I need you to take it to the logical conclusion. So you've got the Suns in the top 4.
Yeah.
You've got your Warriors, who in your power rankings you have 1 through 10 in the top 6.
Could be.
Who are you? Oh, no. Who are you leaving out?
New Orleans. A lot of people think New Orleans is in.
I did, but the injury is already.
They're out. Let's see. Okay, right now I'm going to go. Okay, I think I just picked it, but I can't even remember. But I would go OKC, Dallas, Phoenix. Don't let me forget somebody.
There's Denver, Minnesota still. You need to get to.
Minnesota's going to get in. I'm really worried about this Randall thing, but Minnesota's going to get in. Denver is going to get in. They're not this bad, I'm telling you.
How many are you at now? You're at a lot already.
That's 5.
And then
if you want to make me take Golden State over Memphis, I would.
Memphis, that's no way.
Memphis or Golden State in that 6. The Lakers are out. The Pelicans are out. The Clippers are out. And who else? There's one good team I think that's going to fall.
You and I both think, you had this in your predictions, we both think the Lakers missed the play-in. Although it's going to be a matter of a game or two, so that the play-in is going to be so close. It's hard to
They're going to win like 41. They're going to be like 500, 40, 41 games.
42.5 is their total in Vegas.
LeBron and AD just can't play. They played 76 and 71 games last year. There's 2.
You don't think
If they
Bronny's
do,
not
I
gonna,
think they're good enough. But I just can't bet on that kind of stuff.
right. I think that's exactly right. Yeah, I think Memphis can finish top 3 or 4. I think Memphis can be
They're very good.
really. By the way,
Very
Randall looked good last night, and Edey looked really bad in his debut. And like all of this is hard to know how it's gonna. Although Randall did not look good the other night. I mean, it's
But a lot of this, no, he didn't. And the spacing thing is going to
was
be
that game?
It's going to be an issue. But a lot of this, Bill, is, I mean, maybe the theme of this whole podcast, we didn't know it coming in, but it's relativity. It's how we talk about MVPs, and we end up talking about, so like you got Joel Embiid and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic and Giannis Antetokounmpo and all these players, and you end up having to sort of knock one of them to build another one up. They're all great. And so when I say
I agree.
Phoenix is going to be really good, or I think Golden State is sneaky. Like, I'm looking at that team in a vacuum. When you make me compare it to other great teams, I don't know which one of them is going to win or lose. But Phoenix is a good team. I'm telling you.
It's hard to make – I'm looking right now, like, it's hard to make strong predictions on any of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even like Denver. By the way, I had Denver too. There's a world where the West is so good. There's a world where Denver's 4 or 5. I think Oklahoma City is clearly going to be the best team in the West. But after that, there's a lot of interchangeability and a lot of questions. Like the 2 to kind of 6 range and the 6 to 13 range or 6 to 12 it's really jumbled.
Oh, it's literally the team in the play-in and the 3 seed could be like 3 games. It's not.
Yes.
And so you're talking about one team is a little healthier than another. Let's not quite forget how awesome Nikola Jokic is. He can make up for a lot.
Right.
You know, well, look at a team like the Bucks. I mean, they could end up in the play-in, or Damian Lillard could reverse last. He gets a mulligan.
Lillard look good. Yeah, I mean, look.
Chris Middleton maybe isn't quite as old as we're making him out to be, and Brook Lopez has 1 more year in him, and they're really good. So, yeah, when I say is Golden State Phoenix, and then you make me take somebody out of the top 6, it becomes different. But they're top 6 talented.
Producer Aaron is predicting that Denver could be a play-in team because they're cooked. I like overreacting.
He's sitting here typing in our chat, keyboard warrior. That's what he is. And he doesn't have to put his face to it. So now
he'll put his face to it.
Now he'll say
I don't know. He just put his name to it. He just put his name to it.
Now I'll say anything in a chat. Denver ain't going.
What do you mean? He knows it's going to be on Beyond the Arc. He knows it's out there.
Chat. I mean, is this going on? Is this live? I need a face.
No, this is us. He said he put it on Twitter.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's called, you know we call them the Reiter household? Falsely accused is what he's
okay. We'll see that. Then he's on record. It's no different. And Aaron, I feel you. When I was really getting down on the way Steph was shooting a couple years ago and Lillard was going crazy with the Blazers, the dumbest tweet I've ever put out, and I never erased it. This has to live. I said,
can't erase these things.
Damian Lillard is what Steph Curry used to be. And this
was
before he went on to win the 22 championship. I thought they were cooked. It was really bad.
When I was a national columnist at FoxSports.com, I went to the Super Bowl in Indianapolis where Eli and the Giants beat Brady and the Patriots for the second time, and I wrote a column about how Brady was cooked. So
you were that
it
guy.
Happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
LeBron was declining like 8 years ago. Yeah,
I mean that one I didn't. I mean, I'm looking right now. I thought the Mavs were going to take a step back just because of how good the West. Maybe they're going to be. There's a lot of good teams, man.
Good. Listen, the Mavs were having trouble with the Spurs for 3 quarters. So
I know
none of these teams. That's the thing.
And Wemby didn't play that well.
When you get parity, there's a whole bunch of really good teams, but there's only one great team. Boston is the only great team. So,
I don't agree. I think Oklahoma City has the potential to be – because also all those young guys, they may take big leaps this year.
Potential, fine. Yeah, Dallas has potential. They're
I mean, if you get to a finals and you have that kind of talent –
But they didn't
I'm with you. I'm saying this upcoming year. You're already saying Boston's going to beat everybody, including – No. I know they didn't last year, but if they make that leap this year, and they're the Thunder, and they're in the finals, and that momentum and the growth that will come with that, and the confidence, all that stuff, it's a long ways from now. But
okay, so Bill, this is what I would compare it to. Remember back when Tiger was dominant, and like you could bet the field, you could take Tiger or the field.
Yes.
If I had to bet the field, OKC would be my top pick, but Boston is Tiger.
I agree. And I mean, look, Boston's amazing. All right, are you ready? Should we do team of the night last night?
Yeah.
You go first. I'll take a different one than you.
Okay, well, my team of the are you going to take Dallas? Because listen, my team of the night
No,
was
I wasn't going to.
I'm going to go with Sacramento. They lost. Lost. But that team, I know that in the end they're not going to compete for a championship and we saw the Achilles heel last night. Once Anthony Edwards started going to the rim, they just don't have any interior protection. Sabonis isn't it. They do not have the paint protection to keep you out of there, and they're not going to win big because of that. But that's going to be a team. The ability to go to DeMar DeRozan for guaranteed offense. You can't run all the time, and when things slow down, to be able to have that for their half court and then also have the transition game with De'Aaron Fox, I think they're going to be impossible to stop. I think, again, I'm going to say it, I think the Kings can compete for a top 6 seed.
I was going to say, you've got the Suns in the top 6,
No.
you've got the Warriors in the top 6, and now you got the Kings.
Listen, I'm going to look bad on one of them, but I'm going to look good on one of them.
You're between the Timberwolves, between the Suns, the Grizzlies, the Mavs, and the Timberwolves. You got to get rid of a few of those teams.
I know they're not all going to make it, but one of those teams. I don't know.
And the Thunder.
The King, and the Kings. The Kings are. I'm telling you, they're there. They're there.
You know, there's only. Look, not to be the math guy. You know, you can only have 6 teams in the top 6, right?
Yeah,
like, just if you do the
right
math.
I'm going to be right on. It's like arguments with my wife. I'm going to be right on 6 and wrong on 4.
As producer Aaron just tweeted, keyboard warrior. No, it's not. Brad has 9 teams in his top 6.
I'll take that. That's a 66% winning percentage. I'll take the 3.
You can't take that. It doesn't work that way.
It does. It's like you go to the horse race, you bet the field, and then you just hope the underdog comes in.
Oh, you're hilarious. All right. I'll just take the Thunder and just leave it at, I mean, what a dominating performance. And defensively too. And that's, and we know this, but what makes the Celtics so good is they're top 2 offense and defensive team in the NBA. The Thunder can be top 3 in both those categories this year. They are.
They have all the markings of a championship team. If you go back and look at top 10 offense, top 10 defense, 2-way players, perimeter defending, superstar at the point, they have it all. Rim protection.
Who has the best? I love Chet. Who has the best player between the Celtics and the Thunder?
The Thunder.
I think so too. Which is why they can win. If you have that level of a team, look, it's a long ways from now. This was fun. So next week, I'll be curious if any of the teams that aren't the Warriors can break into your top 10 power rankings.
I'm going to pay really close attention to how the Jazz play tonight against the Warriors. I might move them up.
Got it. All right. Brad Botkin, I'm Bill Reiter. We'll do this every single Friday. Thank you for hanging out. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, leave a comment. We'll use those in the show. If you're listening on the podcast, do the same thing. Give us a 5-star review if it's Apple Podcasts. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Remember, we're live on YouTube every single day, Monday to Friday at noon Eastern, 9 o'clock out here on the West Coast. For Brad Botkin, I'm Bill Reiter. Have a great weekend. Go all 9 teams in Brad's top 6, and we'll see you back here on Monday.